Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Automated Seller Podcast. Today I have a new guest, Emma Schermer Tamir. Hi Emma, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So Emma is actually owner of a copyright firm. Like I know Emma that you're doing also SEO and you are helping brands with their strategies, especially when it comes to selling on e-commerce platforms such as Amazon. And yeah, Emma, I would like to first maybe start with your past, like with your history before you actually created your own company, Marketing by Emma. Like, did you actually have some experience with the Amazon or an Amazon or like e-commerce overall?
Yeah, so I sort of came in from a different direction. I had a more traditional marketing, content marketing, copywriting background in a lot of different industries. So I worked in everything from fine dining to SaaS, and most recently, before starting this agency with my business partner and husband Erez, I was doing marketing and sales for a health and wellness product. And so that was where I began to get more familiar with the world of e-commerce and Amazon more specifically. At the time, I didn't even know that there were third-party sellers. I was sort of just someone that went to go buy my things on Amazon and assumed that Amazon probably sold them. But pretty, in those days, Amazon was also way less sophisticated than what it is
What
today.
what, what year are we talking about?
So we're talking around end of 2016, early 2017. So
Hmm.
EBC, or enhanced brand content, what A plus content now is, was pretty rare. You really didn't see many people doing it. It took a really long time to even be able to get the brand registry approved to gain access to that. And then the modules that were available were very clunky. The keyword research tools were far less sophisticated. Very few people were engaging in brand building. It was really the time where you had the lists of, here are the top 100 best products that you can sell on Amazon. So it was sort of that era
Yeah.
where if you had good timing and got into a space with the right keyword volume, you could do really well. But then you ended up building out a catalog of products that were totally unrelated. So you had your garlic press and your baby backpack and your, this, that, and the other. And so Amazon and what it takes to be successful on Amazon has really matured pretty significantly since then.
So those were like much easier also times, really, or what do you think? I mean, definitely there were not so many resources out there to start selling, so the competition was lower because people were just maybe scared to start selling there, right? But on the other hand, it was just easy to be visible there. I mean, as you
Yeah,
said.
it was easy to be visible. There were way less rules. So this was before that big pesticide sort of lawsuit. And then the response to that came about. So you didn't have to be as cautious with all of the language that you were using. Your keyword strategy did not have to be nearly as sophisticated. And you really couldn't be, because you didn't even have the data to be able to get super granular in the way that you're able to today. And yeah, just wasn't as much competition. So if and then of course we go into reviews weren't as tightly sort of overseen, so it was easier to manipulate those, and
Oh yeah.
there was more space to play outside of the rules and not having to worry about what the ramifications of that would be. And so I think all of that together really kind of made things much simpler. And so it's really interesting actually now to engage with brands who were in the early days, and they have a hard time adjusting to what Amazon has really developed into, because they didn't really learn some of those brand building skills, and they didn't learn to value some of the things like really developing out a customer base, or building out a community, or some of the
Hmm.
off Amazon things that a lot of successful brands are doing today, because they just didn't have to.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, change is always hard, right?
Yeah.
Changing habits, adjusting to the new changes that Amazon introduced. I mean, I can imagine, especially that some of the brands probably reached, let's say, success back in the days. and then maybe they thought that, yeah, I mean, they were doing everything fine, so it's not their fault, right? But yeah, as you mentioned, it's all about changes and adjusting to those changes.
Exactly.
But let's talk about this career switch, because I'm very curious actually. Was it always like this for you, that at some point in your life you were thinking that you want to be entrepreneur, you want to start building actually your own business, or how exactly this switch happened that you started? I don't know if you first started like freelancing, or was it already a big plan that, yeah, I'll just start this company, marketing by Emma. Like I'm always curious when I interview entrepreneurs, when was and how actually happened like this switch.
Yeah, so I'm not the born entrepreneur. I wasn't the one that was selling things to my, classmates when I was 10 years old. I'm not that person at all. I didn't think that it was outside of the realm of possibility that I would one day have my own business, but it wasn't something that I aspired to or that I was really working towards. We kind of fell into this. So I did start off when I transitioned out of the working for this health and wellness product. I started freelancing
Hmm.
and helping out some different Amazon sellers. And very quickly, the interesting thing about the Amazon space is it's a very tight knit community. And so, whether you do a great job or a bad job, word spreads quickly.
Hmm.
And people were really happy with the results that they were getting. And so, they were talking about it in Facebook groups and talking about it in their masterminds. And all of a sudden, we just had a rush of people coming to us. And it was sort of a turning point of, do we stay small and I just take on the projects that I can manage and I just have a small portfolio of clients? Or do we really try to grow this into a business and figure out how to document systems and hire people and do all of these things that I really had no experience with at all? I had very little management
Hmm.
experience. I didn't know really anything about what it took to start or grow a business. And so it was really figuring all of it out on my own with the help of my business partner, Aries. And I really have to give a lot of credit to him because he was the one that always had that confidence that we would be able to do it. And I didn't starting off. I was like, who would want to work with us? Like, business and entrepreneurship has been an incredible tool for me for really being able to develop that confidence. And so with him sort of having that clarity and certainty, that's what gave the push to say,
Awesome.
okay, let's let's do this. Let's see what we can create. And here
Yeah,
we
I
are.
think it's very important, especially when you have like a business partner that he or she is very supportive. So even though you might have a doubt, you always get this extra push that actually leads you to be in the position that you are currently. So that's
Yes.
actually great. So when it comes to saying that you start small, had a smaller clients, maybe less clients, what kind of timeline are we talking about, since you started, and where are you right now? So how big is your team? How many clients are you working with at the moment? If you could share that.
Yeah, so we have a small team. We're 7 people. So we've kind of intentionally decided to stay really focused and also small. I never wanted to grow a giant business and have to deal with all of the different challenges that came along with that. I really like being able to have those meaningful relationships with my team and have that oversight over everything. I think I'm also somewhat of a perfectionist, for better and for worse. And so the thought of all of the chaos that would come along with a very large organization just felt too stressful for me. So we work on a project basis. So rather than have taking on contracts and working with people over, months and years, we sort of work on a come as you need it basis. So at any given time, the exact amount of clients might fluctuate depending on if somebody is revamping
Hmm.
their whole catalog or somebody's getting ready
Yeah.
to launch a new product. It really varies. So it's not a super helpful number, but we managed to stay busy. This is also our busy time of year.
Yeah.
This is really becoming crunch time, honestly, for
Hmm.
getting prepared for Q4 and making sure that everything's in place because really now is the time to figure out all of those adjustments that you need to make sure that you have your creative assets in place so that you're positioned well to then really be able to turn up the dial when it comes to holiday buying. And I think,
Yeah.
every year it starts getting earlier and earlier. We're seeing that Amazon is kind of aligning with that by this second Prime Day that's supposed to be happening. And I think around, a little over a month. So
Hmm.
there's a Q4 is waiting just around the doorstep, and want to make sure that we're getting everybody geared up so that they can have a really strong holiday season.
That's very interesting that you mentioned the seasonality in your business as well when it comes to actually SEO and copywriting for listings. I believe this also is aligned with the brand strategy, right? So you also do the push right now. So what do you think like the seasonality when it comes to Amazon is the like when the most people buy? Is it like Q4 because of the Prime days and the Christmas period, or would you say that it really depends also on the product category?
It totally depends on the product category. And I think it also depends on what's going on sort of broader in with the economy and with society. Like I've recently seen some articles talking about the shift in what are the biggest spending categories. So it's kind of shifting more on Amazon, on places like Walmart, to more of the necessity based items rather than sort of the nice to have but not need to have. And so whether that's a trend that will kind of continue moving forward or whether that's just kind of the nature of what's happening right here, I'm not a futurist. I don't feel comfortable making those kinds of calculations, but I would say it very much depends on a variety of different things. So there are some businesses that really aren't impacted by Q4 much at all. And there are others where that's where they make all of their money. And so it's
Hmm.
just important to understand where you fit into that. And if that is your really big time, then, using all of the time leading up to Q4 to make sure that you're ready for go time. And then
Hmm.
if not, to also recognize that you might be seeing all these people reporting these crazy sales and that's not necessarily something that you need to be feeling bad about because that's just
Hmm.
not the nature of your
Yeah,
business. A mistake that
definitely.
a mistake that I do see people making is taking those non giftable types of products and trying to frame them as that. And I think that looks very clunky and really isn't going to do you.
Could you give some example actually?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like right off the bat, I don't know why, maybe just because I'm sitting at my desk. I don't even have one in my household at all. But like if you sell a stapler, if you sell something that's just a basic item or, a supplement that's not like a fancy supplement, just like vitamin C tablets or
Hmm.
something like that, there might be seasonality to vitamin C tablets because they align with flu and cold
Yeah.
season, but that's going to be different than saying this is a great stocking stuffer that you want to give your best friend.
Oh
So
yeah.
just kind of understanding that nuance and thinking about really what makes sense for your category and your customers and how you can connect with them throughout the different times of year.
Totally. I think those are great insights, definitely. And I really wonder. I mean, I'm pretty sure that yeah, most of the brands they don't really understand that, and they just try to push on every possible occasion, as you just mentioned. So
Right.
yeah.
And it makes sense. I was actually thinking about this. I was at the store the other day and I saw a bag of popcorn and it was Halloween popcorn. And so
Hmm.
in my mind, I think Halloween popcorn, okay, that's cool. Is it going to be orange and black colored? Is it going to be candy corn flavored? Like what is actually making this a Halloween popcorn? And they were so lazy. It was nothing except the bag. The bag said Halloween and had some Halloween
Oh yeah.
decorations, but there was no effort to make it align with the theme of Halloween. And so to me, that's almost like good example of what can happen when people are thinking about giftability is they say, oh, if I just call this a gift, if I just create an image and put a bow on it, then people will want to buy it. And that's not really fully kind of working through and strategizing around that idea and either going all in on it or deciding that that's not the right fit. But just sort of doing that cash grab, lazy effort is a real missed opportunity for all sides. Because I would have bought that popcorn if it was
Some
like fun
special one.
flavor or like fun color, but I don't
Yeah.
need plain
I've
salted
seen this
popcorn.
example. I've seen this example multiple times. I mean, with alcohols, with chocolates, it's just basically, yeah, it's all about changing the package, right? But everything inside is exactly the same. So
Right.
that's
And we have
yeah.
so much option. We have so
Oh
many
yeah.
options as consumers, and people are always looking for what's that new thing? What's that exciting thing? What is the reason to buy this now today versus
Oh
any
yeah.
other day? And so you need to give people a reason to want to choose you. And it doesn't have to just be this is the latest, greatest,
Uh,
newest thing you've never heard of. But
yeah.
that is one approach that brands can take if they're wanting to go down that path.
I agree. And then if you actually do it properly and if you create this kind of seasonality for your items and you make them unique, you can drive crazy sales. Because on the other hand, if you just do it as you mentioned, right? So if someone just changed the package, then there's nothing really special about this product. So there's no really additional value for a customer to buy it. And I want to give a very interesting example here. It's not really e-commerce, but it's overall like a, let's say, brand strategy for McDonald's. Like I don't know about US, but like in Europe, McDonald's menu is like totally different on depending on a country, and then there are different items depends on the season. So the menu rotates. Of course, they have their main dishes like cheeseburger, Big Mac, and so on. But then for special seasons, there are different items, and then every year in a winter period in Poland, there's a special. I think it's called the English name. It's like a lumberjack burger or something like this. It's like very special burger, very limited, only for like 2 months or something, and it drives crazy sales. Like suddenly everyone just goes to McDonald's to get this burger. So if you actually make the item special and like very seasonal, it can bring you great results. And I can think about it also for the items and for brands, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's like another example of that would be Starbucks pumpkin spice latte.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, and Starbucks is really one of the companies that led the way for this obsession of all things pumpkin this time of year, but now it's so much more than that. So I was at the store the other day and there were pumpkin spice Oreos and pumpkin spice, this, that, and the other, but you can only buy it at that time of year. So even going back to something like a vitamin C tablet or a vitamin C packet, if you wanted to try to find a way to bring in a little bit more of that seasonality excitement, maybe it's making an apple cider flavored
Yeah.
or a Christmas spice or some different things that give people a reason to want to buy it now, even if you are not what would be traditionally considered a gift or a holiday type of product.
Yes. So it seems like you're very like your approach for brands is like very strategic, right? So I know that your main service is copywriting SEO, but you're also helping brands with their strategies. So if you could tell a little bit more about those services, is it something that you also do, like just something you just mentioned, right? About the strategic approach for seasonality, for
Yeah, so
example.
we can definitely do consulting that's just on a one-on-one in what kind of engagement you would like to work with me specifically. Those are clients that I take on individually rather than having my team manage those. But really, it's crucial. And this is even if we're not having a one-on-one strategy call, we bring this type of strategic thinking to how we're going to position a product page. And so it just depends on sort of how broad you want to go and what kind of insights you're looking for. But it's important that whether it's thinking more broadly about your brand or more I'm tongue-tied this morning, or more specifically about your product and how to position that on Amazon. You always want to be thinking more about the specifics of just on Amazon and just
Mm-hmm.
on your product. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they're too narrowed in on their product and the data they have, and
Mm-hmm.
they're operating in a vacuum. So
So, I
they look at
mean, they are not like analyzing the competitors and what they are doing,
I,
or
I
what do you
would
mean?
say they're not doing a good job of that, but they're also staying far too focused on Amazon only. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
only looking at Amazon, so one of the things that I see, it's interesting because on the one hand, Amazon is a place where a lot of brands will test new launches before they go broader because they can get immediate feedback about whether this is something that's working or if they need to modify it and whatnot. But at the same time, so often the brand strategy piece is something that lags behind on Amazon. So if you really want to see what's happening in your space, it's so important to look beyond your competitors that are just on Amazon and see what's happening on social, see what's happening with different D2C brands and their own Shopify pages,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where first of all, you just have a lot more space for creative freedom, but that's also where a lot of the really scrappy, hungry, innovative brands are doing the cool things. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to kind of take inspiration from those and then bring it back to Amazon, it's actually a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic way to be able to stay ahead of the curve and to think about how you can continue to innovate. Because like we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, even if you're doing really well now, you can't just sort of assume that you're always going to be the top dog. There are going to be changes that Amazon makes. There are going to be new competitors that are entering the scene. There are going to be things that are happening in your space. And so, if you want to make sure that you are continuing to stay ahead and stay on top, you have to be really having a strong finger on the pulse of what's happening and figuring out how you can continue to push the envelope to make sure that you are maintaining that position.
Totally. I really like the fact that you mentioned other platforms like a Shopify store. And actually, yesterday I had a really nice conversation. This is also like, it was like a podcast as well with Eric from Elite Commerce Group. And we actually were discussing being on different platforms. And he mentioned that, for example, brands are not following the new trends. And he mentioned about the new marketplace, which will be launched on TikTok. So this is something that you also should follow, like the new trends, places where you can be. I mean, of course, there are sellers who only stick to Amazon with their brands. They are doing fantastic. But in my opinion, I don't know. It's more like once you grow to the certain point, it's just worth being somewhere else, especially on other marketplaces, because translating the listings and putting them to other marketplaces, this is like really no brainer. It doesn't take endless time, right? Especially when it comes to Walmart right now. If you're in US and you're doing well on Amazon, I mean, why shouldn't you try Walmart at least? I always give a nice example of my friend from Poland. He's actually selling on Amazon to European marketplaces like in Germany. He's selling on, I think, Austria, UK. I mean, he's also selling on Poland. And then recently, there's a big company called Kaufland. They have big stores all across Europe, especially in Germany and Poland. They launched marketplace out of nowhere. I didn't even knew. He got there very early on. He just launched the products there. Like really didn't put a lot of effort, and suddenly he made almost seven figure there with sales, right? So it's always worth investigating other platforms and trends, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think one of the important points of that story is that he had the early movers advantage. So whenever there's a new platform, the faster you can get there, the better. So if it isn't yet fully developed, it doesn't mean that you should ignore it. It means that you actually have a fantastic opportunity, sort of equivalent to the earlier days of Amazon, where you can really get in there, build up that momentum, and then be positioned in the event that that marketplace takes off. And even if you're not ready to go there, still spending time in those spaces and seeing what people are doing and seeing how your competitors are interacting. For example, TikTok is completely changing how people buy products. People love having somebody show them something cool and different that they didn't know existed. And so even on Amazon now, we're seeing a TikTok like feed where content creators are getting paid to create content that is like a TikTok video, and it is just specific to whatever product they want to talk about. I have a friend who has just recently gotten on that and is making money selling, random people's products, and she's like, oh, this is kind of cool, this would make a fun video. And so understanding that, and obviously you can't turn your Amazon listing into a TikTok video, but how can you maybe take some of the concepts from the way that TikTok is influencing people's buying decisions and apply those to your Amazon listing, and thinking about the way that customers are engaging with brands and how brands are engaging with customers, and that whole relationship is a one that is constantly evolving. And so you're really limiting yourself if you're kind of just looking at a very narrow space, like only confining your competitor research to Amazon. You're really going to miss out on the full potential of your brand.
Totally. So speaking about different platforms, what is your approach when it comes to creating content for your clients? We can talk about Amazon, Walmart. We can talk about like custom Shopify stores, because I know that, as you mentioned, right, like creating a listing there and the content copywriting, it's totally different. So how do you do it?
Absolutely. So there are I think the most important first layer of that is anything that's online, you need to have a solid SEO strategy. If you're just sort of on a wish and a prayer, hoping that you'll get to a good place purely by happenstance, it's not going to happen. So making sure that whether it's your own website, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Amazon, that you're using the tools at your disposal to make sure that you understand the keywords that you need to use. I mean, the same even goes for social selling and making sure that you know what hashtags to use and everything like that. So that's a critical piece that's really laying the foundation. And so just because you know your keywords on Amazon, it doesn't mean that you're going to have the same keywords on Walmart or the same keywords if you're trying to rank on Google. And so really making sure that you are doing fresh research for each one of those pieces. And then the next step, once you have a clear idea of the keywords that you're going to be really targeting, thinking about...
Just before the next step, actually, can you recommend maybe some tools for the keyword research? Because obviously, right now, nowadays, there's so many tools out there, right? So if you can share with the audience tools that you are using.
Yeah, so for Amazon, we like Helium 10 and we like Data Dive. Those are the two main tools that we work with. Helium 10 also has a Walmart tool. And then if you're wanting to do more of Google types of things, I've been playing around most recently with Surfer SEO. And that's more on the content marketing side of things, but it's an AI SEO tool that is really awesome and helps you create far more robust blog posts. You can also use it to optimize your keyword strategy for any other page. Like our website is actually a Shopify hosted website. And so whatever page we're looking to optimize, we can also do that with this tool. So I'm a big fan of that. We've just started playing around with it over the last few months. But yeah, those are our go-to
Those are the tools
for the moment.
So that was the step number one, right? So the keyword research. What's next?
Next is research. And this, I would actually say, might need to happen before you even do your keyword research, because in order to do effective keyword research, you have to understand who the competitors that you're going after are and how you're going to fit into that. So let's maybe sort of have this be a pre and post step, because I think you need to do some of that initial research. Then you do your keyword research, and then you can do some more robust research about really thinking strategically about how to position your brand within that particular platform. Because something like Amazon or something like Walmart, what's unique to those is all of your competitors are right there. So it's very easy for customers, if you are not instantly connecting with them and telling them that this is a good match for their needs and reassuring them that this is something that they're going to be excited to purchase, they can just go click somewhere else. For alternatively, on your own website, it's a little bit more of a captive audience once you've gotten them there. And so that conversation is going to look a little bit different. Also, on your own website, you have much more creative freedom about how you're going to format and present everything.
There are no restrictions from Amazon.
Right. Whereas, Amazon, there's just different pieces that you have to have, and you only have so much wiggle room with how you use those pieces. So you're a little bit more kind of limited with how you can take advantage of those different pieces compared to being able to have that space on something more freeform. So understanding the platform, both in terms of the competitor strategy, but also in terms of the formatting, any rules that you need to follow, make sure that you understand all of the rules. Things like FDA restricted language and whatnot, that's not just specific to Amazon. You need to also make sure that you are using FDA compliant language on your own website or anywhere else that you're selling. So making sure that you understand both the rules specific to the platform, but also that might apply to whatever category it is that you are selling under. So if you would be FDA restricted for anything consumable as well as anything topical, so skincare, supplements, food, things like that. So being very mindful of all of those things is incredibly important.
Is there a list of the keywords that you shouldn't use? Like, I don't know, like somewhere in the public, or you kind of created coming from your experience?
Yes and no. So Amazon sort of has a partial list spread around a number of different pages. If you're looking at Seller Central and you dig in, I can't remember the exact places where any of them live, but you can find some of those words there. But then we're constantly adding new words to the list of things that you wouldn't think would be problematic, or maybe only problematic in certain settings. So it's not always this word is always forbidden, but this word in this set of circumstances isn't something that you can use. When it comes to FDA compliant language, that's not just speaking to a specific word, but how you're actually phrasing things. So one of the most important rules is that you can't make claims, health claims, that you don't have the clinical research to back up. So even something like saying this face cream removes wrinkles, that you can't say that if you if you don't have the research that shows that it removes wrinkles. So then you have to say this skin cream has ingredients that are known to reduce the appearance of wrinkles.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Very interesting, actually.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, obviously that's far less compelling. So then you need to find creative ways of being able to suggest certain ideas that don't come across as too clunky. Or
I didn't know they had that restricted, right? I mean, obviously I was thinking that, you cannot put the listing and write, this cures cancer, right? But then even about those kind of details, that's very interesting. That there are ways also that you can describe it. Very interesting.
Yeah, and the thing is that just like Amazon, the FDA it's responsive to when they find somebody breaking those rules. So you might see people that are saying things that they're not supposed to say and getting away with it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's okay, that it's compliant, or that you won't get in trouble for it. It's just that they maybe haven't been privy to the fact that this brand is using this kind of language yet. So
actually, sorry to interrupt here. Do you think, or maybe there is, right? It's just a question. Is there a software that actually can analyze your listing when it comes to the copy and tell you that, hey, those words, they shouldn't be used here?
When it comes to FDA compliant language, I do believe that I saw someone in my network on LinkedIn who just released some AI software that I think is able to do that, but I don't know the details and I haven't tested it, and I can't even recall the name off the top of my head. But I think those are the types of things that with AI, it will become much easier
Yeah.
to avoid those types of mistakes. So I think that's a really great thing that even if it doesn't exist, you could probably
Just
program.
speaking from my perspective as the one who built tools for sellers, it's just extremely easy software to build,
Yeah,
especially nowadays with the, because previously you would need to know some NLP and some old AI techniques and analyzing the text with the database of the keywords. But right now, since you have the AI agents like ChatGPT, you just feed it with the knowledge of all of the keywords around that, and then you just ask the question, and just from my understanding, it would be super relatively easy software to do and launch very
absolutely.
quickly. So I was just curious. If there's no one, maybe we'll build
Uh-oh,
one.
I think we have your wheels spinning for a new tool coming in September 2023.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, awesome. No, that's really great. I actually have one more question here for some of your case studies, like success stories. If you could just give us an example of one of your clients that you, I don't know, came to you and you managed to rewrite the copy or write it from scratch and actually bring a lot of sales.
Yeah, so we actually just finished a case study with Helium 10, and we worked on a listing that they had actually originally launched through a previous case study, Project X, and it just really wasn't performing very well. And I think what happens in any Amazon education space is people use an example of this would be a great product to launch, which is why we're choosing it, but we wouldn't recommend you choose this also, and then still 100 people choose that exact product because they're like, well, no one else is going to launch this too, so why not capitalize on it? So there had been quite a few additional, much cheaper competitors that had come into the scene. It really wasn't selling well at all. So we revamped that whole listing with everything from a new keyword strategy to title. We added A+ content, and we boosted it 250% increase in conversion
Awesome.
rates. So
And what kind of period of time are we talking about?
we're talking about over a month
Wow,
from, yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Really
So
great.
it really, and what was interesting about this case study in particular is one
Do you
of the
have it on
other,
your website maybe? So I could
it's
link it
on the
maybe.
Serious Sellers podcast.
Okay.
I can't recall the episode number. I can send you the details.
Mm-hmm.
We're still working on some of the kind of creative assets that go with that. But one
Sure.
of the other cool elements of that is one of the team members at Helium 10, who's not a trained designer, just took the photos herself. Her dad was the model in some of the images, and it was a very basic design job, nothing that would be mind blowing in terms of, how beautiful it looks. And even then, we managed to achieve that kind of increase in conversion rate. And so, what I
Awesome.
find exciting about that is obviously the better imagery you can have, the better design you can have, the better you'll perform. But even if you're just figuring things out, or you don't have the time to wait for design or the budget to put towards that immediately, you can still really see some considerable increase in performance by doing a lot of these different things
Mm-hmm.
in a really thoughtful way.
Got it. Very interesting. I kind of felt that I went for like consultation hour with you during this podcast. So I think a lot of listeners or viewers on YouTube will find a lot of value from this episode. So thanks a lot for sharing all of the insights with us. And yeah, Emma, where people can find you and how people can start working with your company.
Absolutely. So our website, marketingbyemma.com, is a great place that has links to all the things and emails and phone numbers and WhatsApp and whatnot. We also offer a free listing analysis. So if you would like for us to just take a look at your listing or a Shopify product page or a Walmart product page and give you some feedback about things that we see that you can do better. And if you just want to take that feedback and use it yourself, or you want our help doing that and more, we're happy to do that. I also just launched a YouTube channel. So if you're just looking for more education around all of this, that's Marketing by Emma. So I think those are the main places
Awesome.
to find
I'll,
us.
I'll include them. I will include them in a description. So great,
Awesome.
Emma. Thanks a lot for sharing everything again and for being a guest here at the podcast. And yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Jacob. I love talking about branding with you today.
Sure. Bye bye.
Bye.